Is it that time of year again? Need a romantic gift for the partner in your life? I've got just the thing. Hi, I'm Chris. Welcome to King Bespoke Creations. And yes, we're all loved up today. We're going to make something wonderful for that special person in our life. Now then, there's a few options here. Generally, I like to get whatever wood that's hanging around because then it's free, which makes it even cheaper than those 24 roses you were going to buy. Now, one of the first options is something like this. So we have a relief carving on here with this heart poking out and I love you written on there, just to make sure that message really gets across. It has just a little bit of doweling on the back so that it stands up nice. You could just as easily put a hole in the top for hanging purposes. Now, if you fancy making something like this, I'll leave some links in the description to videos that how to start a relief carving, and also a video on how to do lettering as well. So that could be something that was really simple and actually easy to do and looks really nice. But today we're going to do something that's even easier. We're going to grab a log. So this is one I've just had lying under a sheet outside for, well, quite a while. And what we're going to do is cut this in half and turn it into a tea light holder. That way, when you hand it over as the gift, you could see it's for lighting up that special candlelit dinner that you're going to prepare for the evening. Bonus points all round. So firstly, let's grab a saw and see if we can split this in two. So firstly, I've got one end trimmed as I've cut it off a larger piece that I had. The other end has this kind of nasty split to it. Sometimes you might want to keep that as a character. I think on this occasion it's probably just going to have bugs and stuff in, so let's just chop that off first. The next thing is just seeing if it has a particular straight line inside it anywhere. So you can see there, that's pretty straight from left to right, but if we do that, it's got a decent curve on it. So I want to saw down the middle of there while it's in that straight line. So that's how it's going to go into the vise, like that. So as we clamp that shut, I know I can then saw down there and it's not going to have a big curve or sections missing, and it's going to sit flat on a table. Right, so we want to saw along here as straight as possible. Now, this might be thin enough to actually just go through your bandsaw, and if you've got one and that works, fantastic. But we can do it with the handsaw, and we can cut really straight. The trick to that is not to go down like this, because as we're cutting, it kind of wanders and it can go sideways. We want to cut with the blade running low down, and then you can control exactly where that's going to go. So the only way the saw can waver is that way, and that's only that thickness that we need to worry about. So I think we'll be okay with that. Right, so just to start it off, once we're in, then it's just take it slow, take your time, don't rush it, don't try and power through. Now, every time you start getting close to the vise, it's going to need moving again, because the pressure on that will squeeze the wood in onto your saw. So it'll need moving again, clamping tight again, and back to sawing. Now, once you get to this last little bit, it can get a little bit tricky. So here's a nice trick. What we can do is put a thin piece of something in that end and then clamp that end into the vise, leaving this end free. That way we should still be able to get the saw in there, just like that, and we can carry on sawing all the way to the end. Okay, so once we've split these, we've now got kind of two options. if you uncover something that is just gorgeous, and you never really know when you split a log, you can have patterns and woodworkings in here that just look divine. If that's the case, you could cut another section off here. So you've got a thin parallel section that would sit flat that way on. So you're showing this off, and we'll put the drill holes in for the tea lights that way on. By the time that's got some oil or some surface on there, it will look gorgeous. The other option, if maybe that's a little bit plain and boring, is to go that way around. And this is what I'm going to do today. I'm really torn because that is quite beautiful, but I'm going to stick with my original plan. I'm going to put these together. I'm going to joint them here, not stuck together, so they are separate, but I'm going to use a little cut down the middle so that they fit together really, really well. And then, did you ever carve a heart and your initials with your loved one on a tree? Did you ever do that? It's one of those oldie-timey things, isn't it? Well, we can do that on here. So I'm going to give them a joint so that they sit together beautifully well, and then we'll have half a heart on one side, half a heart on the other, and the initials on both pieces. Nice. So in the traditional way of carving your heart into the tree, I'm just going to use a little knife. I've been freshly sharpened it on a belt sander, nothing more than that. And the way I'm going to do it, if you have not done this before, is I'm going to go almost draw the heart in first, just straight down the middle of the line that you want. And then once you've put a score line in, you can then chip into that line as you go around, and it will lift out that section. So we can make that line now a little bit deeper. And then chip in again. Don't worry if it looks rough, it kind of should do. It's that, you know, teenage love carved into a tree. It shouldn't be perfect. That's not the look we're going for this time. So we get to do bits like that. Just be very careful where your other fingers are. Don't have them there while you're pushing down, because if you slip, you're going to do yourself a nasty. It's good to use your thumb, push the blade in. Now just to make sure it lines up, you can see I've put a nick here and here so that the top and the bottom of that line up, and then we can just go around and fill that half in, exactly the same as this one. Right, now then, while we're carving this, we're obviously carving into the bark, and there's some sections of it that are actually really peeling up quite a lot. And what I don't want to do is lose that. I want to keep that texture. So I'm going to stick some super glue in here. I'm just going to pour some of this super thin stuff because it wicks in between. You can actually see it pouring out the other side there. And hopefully that should help just to keep everything in place, so we keep the look that we're after. I know it's kind of cheating because you probably wouldn't do this on a real tree, but hey, this is what we've got. I'll finish this bit off now. And with the carving done, it's time to think about these tea lights. These things, you buy them in packs of 1,000,000, they burn out in about 10 minutes, but they're very pretty when they're lit. So you need to decide, first of all, how many you want to put in. That's really going to depend on how big your log is and where the carving is. We're going to use a Forstner bit to cut out the slot. If we can focus on that. This is a 40mm Forstner bit. Okay, so that's the size that we need for these tea lights that you get in the packs. It's a 40mm bit that we're going to use, and I just generally go down the depth of that Forstner bit as well. That's enough for the tea light to sit in without burying it down deep that the flame could start catching hold of the log. And then once all the carving and all the drilling is done, I'm just going to cover it in some Danish oil. You might even be tempted to use a brush. Never used a brush before for Danish oil. Let's see. If I soak the brush, give it a coat like that, will that work? Don't see why not. And there we go. Quick, simple, and guaranteed to earn you some brownie points. But actually really nice to have something that's going to be on your table, and yeah, why not splurge out, have a candlelit dinner with your little work as the centerpiece. Isn't that going to be nice? If you fancy doing the carving instead, then check out this video, and until next time, give someone a massive hug, and I'll see you soon. God bless.